So let me quickly outline what's happening here. So as the people from King have seen yesterday in the newsletter, we have this guest programmers initiative where people, well, default users actually visit King, visit default team and guest program with us. So last week it was Andreas Irenius from Strange Quest. This week is Alexey Agulev. And then we have also plans for people from Samsung and other users of Defold. So the structure is that right now, Alexey is going to deliver a talk about his 2 years experience in Defold, and then we'll have a small Q&A with whoever is in this room and on the call. So people in the chat, I'm watching you. Feel free to ask questions. I'll make note of that, and we'll pass this to Alexey or Defold team, who are also here. And with that, if the sound is nice and if you see the picture, then we can start. Alexey, your turn.
Okay. Hi, I'm Alexey Agulev from Belarus. You may know me as Agulev from Defold Forum. Thanks to Oleg and podcast How Are Games Made, 2 years ago I joined to Defold community. Our two people team already shipped 3 games. It's 3 games with Defold, of course. It's a Bring Me Cakes game, puzzle about Red Riding Hood, Honored Paradise.
All good, all good. Sorry, I'm just trying to juggle with the settings here.
Okay. Bring Me Cakes, puzzle about Red Riding Hood, Honored Paradise variation of Mahjong game, and classic Klondike Solitaire. For now, we are working on new projects and some improvements for the previous project. Also, I am the author of Def Unity Ads native extension and few other small extensions, and contributed to Defold's native extension along with Kyo and other guys. Back in the days, I read manuals and understood this is exactly what I need. Because Defold is great engine with powerful architecture inside. Sorry, I never said it. I wanted to share my discovery and I made VK Home Group. This is Russian social network. For now, it has more than 700 subscribers, and I regularly post news about Defold, and I write tutorials to my blog, even made few video tutorials. A week ago, I created a Telegram chat. Hi guys. For Russian community, and for now it's more than 100 people. The idea about using TypeScript actually comes from this new brand community. Now let's talk about things that used to be a problem for me 2 years ago. What I saw when I started working with Defold 2 years ago. First of all, Defold had no native plugins. No native plugins, no ads. No ads, meaning no method to monetize small games. It was a serious problem. Next one thing, Defold had no code stripping. Maybe somebody here remembers one of my first topics on the forum about this when I used to count a bundle size after every new version. For me, that meant that my favorite qualities of engine, speed and build size, were being destroyed step by step by adding new features to the runtime. Okay, next point is an editor. Did somebody try to open really big collection in editor 1? I tried. It's slow, and it's really slow. A few times I even made changes in collection using text editor because it was easier and faster. Next on the list, particles and spy animation in GUI. It was not critical, and we had a walk around using material stacks, but it was annoying, especially in casual game that we have a lot active UI elements, when everything flies, explodes, and so on. It was one of the reasons why we had to put off a lot of small cute things in the HAXE game. These days, I do not connect the debugger too often, but mainly because I write simple modules with clear responsibility and transparent interaction between them. But 2 years ago, when I just actually tried to understand how Defold worked, it was a challenge to develop without a debugger. And last but not less important, not enough examples of code and had no centralization for community activity. I had a TXT file with most important links for people who often ask me about Defold. Okay, so that's how it used to be, and let's see what we have now. Yes, we have those awesome features. Native extensions, we have no more problem with native code. Well, what I like the most, I don't need to set up compilers and so on. It just works. And as benefit, every extension is available with source code. This means that everything extension is an example for making new extensions. This is really wonderful. With app manifest and runtime stripping, I'm calm for modular future of Defold. Build size is not a problem anymore. Editor 2, one laugh. Yep. No more clips, no more slow editor. Last time I opened first editor just for screenshot purpose for a new blog post. I even forgot how it looks like. Next thing, no more workarounds with particles and spy animation in Google just works. New code editor with debugger is really good and promising. I have worked with only this editor for 2 weeks and then made a list with 5 points of why Atom is, Atom editor is still a better solution for now. Anyway, the new code editor is already super useful, especially for new users. Use smaller examples on the website is a good idea. Even better that everybody can contribute on examples here. I already made 4 and have plans to add some more. Especially thanks Bjorn for his GitHub account. It's amazing work. Thank you.
Thanks.
With new community portal, I don't have to track who did what where anymore. It's really convenient when all new things are in one good place. Of course, these are just few things of many more that were developed. Sorry. Yeah. Of course, these are just few things of many others that were delivered. Thank you. With the last 2 years, but this was especially valuable to me personally. When I started working on the presentation, I thought that I'll ask you to fix several annoying bugs, those that affect me personally. But then I decided that it is not fair. It's too local and egoistic, and I have to think more globally. So instead, there are 3 things that I want to ask you to think about. Yeah, I know. I understand that it's not easy to open source the whole engine. We already talked about this on forum a few times. But I think it should be possible to open source some of the modules. I can promise to contribute in enough purchases and push notification models. Physics has physics 2 problem and has no for now it has only basic functionality for and it would be great to have possibility to make improvements here. I know that it's not an easy, but please guys. Why is open source? What is it? Why is open source so important? First of all, this is question about security. Who has a Flash player installed today? Okay. Who has a Flash player installed on the desktop today? Oh, one people. Flash developers faced a sad situation when years of the experience and a lot of reusable code or assets relied on a technology that slowly died. I was one of those developers. Last year, Alek and I had 3 talks at different conferences, and in Q&A sessions, people asked, if Defold does not bring money to King Company, where is guarantees that it won't be closed? This is especially important for bigger teams with bigger budgets and bigger risks. Some of such teams already had bad experience with dying Flash. Of course, Alek gave them a good answers with 3 points, but actions such as open sourcing parts of the engine are much better than words. Moving in this direction would give indie developers more trust in Defold, because nobody wants to depend on external forces and send months or even years of work to trash because of internal affairs in King. Next good reason, of course, our community. Defold community is awesome, I think. We want to help and we can help. Okay, next one. Yeah, next one is new editor. And I know that I'm not too special here, it's about open source too. Editor 2 is really complex tool, and the number of bugs and feature requests will be growing faster than Defold developers can deliver. I think and I hope the community can help. Personally, I like good challenges, and I would like to learn Clojure so I can fix my old issues with the editor. It would be a good challenge for me and possibly many others. One more point, it's about Clojure community and Clojure developers. I think they may be interested in being complex project in open source, like a new editor, and eventually in Defold engine too. And next one. I think, okay, sorry. How about making the strength even stronger? Defold and is fast and small game engine, good for old and budget devices. Today it's really actual for fast-growing economies like South America or other countries. Would be great to polish these strengths by adding content scale factor feature. I'm happy to share some of good practice from other tools to help you design this feature, if you want, of course. Thank you for listening. Hope my talk was useful, and I'm ready for questions.
I guess the first one is from the community, straight from the chat. So, do you think that Clojure or Clojure, how do you pronounce that, is actually a good language? I mean, for the community, it's complex.
I think no, but every community has crazy peoples, special peoples. Yeah. And I know I already tried to learn how it works, Polish notation and so on. But it's a good challenge. It's can break mind, and I think it will be useful.
And
Something to add, we have also experimented with using Lua for editor plugins, so that could probably be technically possible too. And then you have the same language.
Cool.
but so what would you, as a community member, prefer, like Clojure or smaller SDK that is Lua based editor extensions?
They're not exclusive. I mean, we can have both. So Clojure for bigger types of extensions and Lua for simpler.
Alexey, did you use any server technologies, like for user safe, leaderboards, either any alternatives to prefab? Yeah, playfab.
Playfab, yeah. And yeah, only
So
Playfab.
playfab. Playfab was your choice.
It's most simple for now. We already have SDK and no improvement.
Anything else? The chat is kind of silent.
Can you tell us about your secret project, which you're working on?
Yes, by the way.
Bye. It's not a secret. We trying to experiment with something like turn off slides, no problem. It's something like our Untitled Paradise game, but without with more meta game and more sense for users back to the app.
I'm just trying to play. With it's too much buttons, and yeah. So Bring Me Cakes game, it's super small, and we actually use it to like show people, you know, like how fast games can load on cheaper devices. So we would, you know, cold start a game, and it would start in like 1 second or like. Do you think it actually helped you to drive more installs or something, that your game loads fast and that it's very small, as an indie developer?
We have a lot of review about small size and fast speed, but I have no statistics. I can't tell how it can be if it's with other engine bigger and so on. Personally, for me, it's important because I think when I try to open some games from bigger companies who made their own engines, I see that this application works fast, really fast. And Defold give me possibility to make something like this internal tools in these companies. I think it's a main benefit for me.
One more question from the chat. How many people in the room know Clojure? How much time did it take to learn it? Clojure knowers? So, okay, Defold editor team knows Clojure. That's a good sign. Anybody not from Defold? Yeah, so the answer is those who actually program Defold with Clojure know the language.
There's also Sven.
Oh, and Sven.
He's learning slowly.
Yeah, so Bruno thinks it's really hard to get people interested when the environment is super distant from what they're used to. And Bruna follows the question, is it hard to learn, Sven? Is Clojure hard to learn for you?
Hard question. I mean, I've been working on some really large issues lately, and I don't know if it's the language that makes it fun, but it was really fun working on issues with Clojure.
So I'm not sure if the mic is far away. I'm not familiar with the room, but Sven's reply was, it's hard, but it's so fun.
Yeah.
Questions in the room? Also, we can ask, since all the Defold team is here, so we can harass them with questions. Defold team, what is minimal requirements for instant games? Will it work on iPhone 4? I'm not sure it's even supported by Facebook iPhone 4, right? Like iPhone 4 is certainly not supported by Facebook. Like you cannot install Facebook on that thingy. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to play instant games.
That goes hand in hand, yes. So if you can't run the Messenger client, then you can't run
the latest Messenger client. So yeah, will you add more functions to editor, like code compilation, static analyze, and other? Or developers should use other environments like IDEA or Vim? Anybody?
Well, we want to. It's basically just a prioritization issue. We'd love to have more code intelligence in the environment.
The answer is would love to have more code intelligence. Or like, do you hear the answers, or should you repeat them? Chat. Anyways, yes, you heard. Perfect. Good. I won't repeat that. Will the editor be extensible like Visual Studio? Asks Bruno.
Yes, I mean it will be extensible, but the part like Visual Studio is not maybe given. But I mean it's the same problem that we have with the engine, that we can't fix everything for every user, so we need some type of extension system so you can replace it. But the new editor was designed very much with that in mind. So I mean theoretically, when we designed it, we wanted it to be completely replaceable by anything else, but obviously that's not the case in practice right now. But still, I mean it's supposed to work like that in a way. That's a big reason for the whole computational graph that we have in the background and things like that, so you can replace it.
Cool. A bit twist to Alexey. So I think one of the very few Defold users who actually made it to Facebook Instant Games. There was a window of 3 days before the announcement and the closure of Facebook Instant Games, and you made it with your game. Was it hard to port?
It's not a problem. I already have ready game. Just integration of SDK, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours.
Okay.
But for now, SDK is it was early version of SDK, default SDK, and it was harder. I think now it's simpler than it was for me.
Did you say it took 3 hours?
I think yes. Something about this.
Still
I'm
not
not
too
sure. Too long?
Not too long.
There was a forum post yesterday that I was amazed. Like, I asked a person who just have shipped a game on iOS, like, hey, you should make an HTML5 version, and he was like, yeah, I'll do this on lunch. It's like, yeah, that's perfect. Probably we're doing something right in Defold if people can port to HTML5 their mobile game during lunchtime. A question from the chat. Will you be able to interact with the Defold scene with the editor extensions in such a way you can do with Python and Autodesk Maya? I think the question is, can you script scene behaviors from using external scripts?
I guess it's hard to answer at this point since we haven't really gone into the extension part, but yes, the obvious reason would be that if the extensions don't solve the use cases that we you won't implement, then it's not a useful native extension system. So, I mean, obviously, it has to cater to quite a big degree of different use cases users will have. So, for example, we have the manipulators, the tools that you use visually to move stuff around, and they are also sort of written in a way that they're supposed to be replaced by anything else. So I've taken that to somewhat into extent, but still we need to design it further to understand how it would work.
But I think since people are asking very, very similar questions about editor extensions, and that's, I guess you see that it's Ragnar speaking, answering this editor questions. Since people asking all these questions that are similar, but I guess people just don't understand what editor extensions are. Can you give them a quick, if not roadmap, then round up, as in what is editor extensions and what is coming within the next 6 months, I guess, something like that.
We have nothing planned in terms of extensions for the next 6 months, but we have also planned to not do them. So I mean that can change within 6 months. But right now we have no plans for 6 months. Basically, that's what I'm saying. But an example of an extension we thought to use to make as a prototype or something to just test it out would be, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, there's like a level editor that's been made for Unity, but it was also demoed by Ubisoft, where they have sort of procedural 2D platformer editors. You will drag control points and it will fill in meshes and textures, and you can control the rules for that. And I think that's a pretty good example of, we have user type content they want to edit in a pretty visual and user friendly way, so to speak, and then tie that into the content pipeline, and then have something that the engine could consume, or a new engine native extension could consume it to produce whatever is needed for your game if you're building that. So I think that's pretty encompassing or a broad type of extension. You can use it as an example.
Cool, thank you. And we have 2 more minutes to go, so we can either ask questions, or a team in the room can maybe reflect on what Alexey has delivered. Because I mean, there is a huge community behind him, so maybe.
I can ask a question. Now that you've used Defold for 2 years and you're sufficient in it, of course, can you think of anything which would make you switch to another solution? And what would that be? Another engine or similar?
Sorry.
How to make you switch to another game engine? What should we do so we switch? Or rather, what should we not do so you don't switch? Either question is good.
It's I tried to, first of all, project. It depends on project what I want to do. It's when I know what project I want to do, I can choose what technology is the best for this kind of projects. It's independent of some, I don't know, some magic or some features. It's not about fun stuff or something like this. I really like Defold, but if I want to make, I don't know, something, our 2 people team can do this, but if we want to make some 3D game with a lot of objects and mechanics, I think other engine would be great, better solution for this kind of project. But for now, for my project, it's best solution, best technology.
But did you try 3D in Defold?
I have, as all indie developers, I have a lot of ideas, not finished projects, prototypes, and so on. And a small 3D game using Defold, one of this list. I think I can show something when I have time.
So now the question from Incelity. If you, I guess most people in this room have played, and actually or in the chat have played his game 4321. So that's a game that's him, and his obvious question is, what is the mobile web priority for Defold, and our planning to improve on the performance and the memory consumption of it? Any takers?
WebAssembly, Matthias.
What platform? Mobile?
Mobile web.
What's that?
Web.
Web, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I think maybe WebAssembly will be the first step, something to try out if that helps. Otherwise, we don't really have anything planned as such. I think we need to take it a little bit on a case-by-case basis to help out, to see if we can help profile stuff and see if we can actually make a pinpoint effort.
Yeah.
So your reply is file box, and if something underperforms, just write about it and we'll see.
Yeah, that would help, I think. I think we make a great point in having the same implementation on all platforms, because it makes it reliable for everyone, both the developers and us as well, to reason about and to develop things. So that's why we don't usually want to have JavaScript specific implementations.
I can fill in as well. I think one thing that we've talked quite a lot about is how to improve our profilers so that you can actually get more information about your game and why it's being slow and so on. And we can do a lot of stuff both in the profiler and in the editor to highlight, for instance, draw calls and things like that, and really help the developer to understand that this change I'm doing now will have a negative impact on my performance or improve it and so on. I think we can do it across the board, I guess, editor, engine, and the other tools as well.
Okay, surprise question from Bruno. Will Defold support Mono, C# or perhaps other scripting languages?
Not that we planned, but I mean not those anyway that you mentioned. But I mean there would have to be a very good reason for it. I guess the biggest reason for Mono C# would be to attract the programmers that know it and are familiar with it. But to us, I think at this point that's not a strong enough reason to do it, since Lua is pretty simple to learn.
Good. Makes sense. I guess we can. We're 3 minutes over time, so if no, like 10 seconds for another opportunity for a question, and then we'll go for a Hika. So, any last questions from anybody in this room or beyond this room? Like, no? 3.
Okay, about Lua and other languages. Maybe solution with HAXE and solution with TypeScript. TypeScript have proof of concept on GitHub, and if you want, you can use TypeScript. It's not C#, but why not?
But it's TypeScript.
Yeah, of HAXE.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, we had a big game in this building that relied heavily on HAXE, so it's possible. And TypeScript, quite a respected game developer, Mr. Sannikov, is using TypeScript, so we'll see if it's possible. And the bonus question before we go to Fika, anything about Nintendo Switch?
What is the game?
Exactly. So that's what I normally reply to this question.
Hamster.
Hamster. Yeah. So as soon as you have a game that is like, you know, if as a default user you have a default dev kit coming, you know, to your doorstep, and you have a game designed, we'll figure something out, maybe, right?
I think everyone in the team would love to put more platforms in, like Nintendo and stuff.
Good. Then it's a good time to clap Alexey and the full team, I guess. Yay! Thanks everybody for support. Thanks everybody for coming. And next time will be somebody else.
Recording has stopped.
You look so pale. I'm nervous. No?
Yes.
Not a bit.
Mhm.
Thanks.